Hello, my friend. Welcome back to The Pathetic Truth. I am your host, Yanexi. As always, I invite you to take a seat, get comfy, as I continue to share my story of awakening with you. And I'd like to remind you that my content is not for children. I wanted to start just by sharing an observation. Whenever I sit down to share my story with you, it requires me to relive a lot of beautiful but painful moments that have happened over the past couple of years. And it just stirs up a lot of deep emotions. And because I start thinking about what I'm going to talk about a couple of days ahead, it just requires me to dive back into that. And I've especially been a little extra emotional today for some reason. But I am excited to continue my story. And I hope that you find it inspirational for you and maybe helpful as well. I wish I had kept a journal because there's so much detail that, especially from the early days, that I forgot. And what I use to remember is my poetry, because I dated my poetry, and the memory that I have of the events. I wanted to give you a quick recap of what I've talked about. As you might recall, the first couple of weeks, that December of 2023, I had met Vincent, and there was this like a parallel play or a nonverbal dance between us, I felt. Just an exchange of glances. And for me, I felt a heightening of my senses that I had never felt before, of all my senses. And this was amazing, but it was also a little frightening because it was something I had never felt before. It was a completely novel experience, just the level of just where my senses were. I felt that what I was feeling was mutual between me and Vincent. That was my perception. I felt that there was some reciprocity there that was not spoken about. And it was very intense for just a few days. And then I noticed a sudden shift for him, followed by a cool down, so to speak. So he kind of avoided or stepped away, just cooled things down in terms of the glances and that sort of thing for a few days. Now, the days leading up to Christmas, things started to intensify again. So he kind of came back. I noticed he was seeking proximity again, just physical proximity when we were at the gym together. And the feelings, I saw that. So the feelings started to intensify for me again. I do remember this one night. Up until that time, it had just been glances and, nothing more. But one night, as I was walking toward the bathroom, he was coming out of the bathroom and he said, "Hey." This is a very soft little greeting. My heart wanted to explode, but I just kind of smiled and looked down and carried on with my evening. And so I feel that, again, our little cat and mouse dance, it was something like that going on again. I had this weird feeling sometimes that I felt like prey. I don't know, because he did nothing threatening. It was my perception of it. Like I would kind of feel like I wanted to approach him, but at the same time run away from him. And so I don't know, it was something I couldn't understand. The magnetism that I felt was so strong, and it kind of scared me, in part because I couldn't act on my feelings. So, I would kind of just like glance at him, but from far, and kind of hiding from behind the machines and things like that. It's a very strange feeling um, of vulnerability that I felt around him, as much as attracted as I felt to him. I think what it was is that I saw this man as like an evolved being of some sort. I, because of the reaction that I had to just his glances, the eye contact, and that I saw this divinity or this light reflected in his eyes, that I felt that he saw through me. I felt like he was some sort of God. I kind of put him on a pedestal because of that. And so being in his presence made me feel like a little child in the presence of like a master or a very wise person. And I think that that's probably where those feelings of vulnerability came from for me. So strange, because I was so intensely attracted, but at the same time wanting to pull away, wanting to go towards him, wanting to pull away from him. And this whole child thing that started me feeling like a child, as this would continue, the events would continue to unfold, I would continually be taken back to my childhood. When I was a kid, I was pretty good with words and creative writing. Well, a kid, and as I grew up, I remember when I was in college, I had one of my professors. She got one of my papers and started talking to the rest of the class about the content, and she said that she complimented me. I was so embarrassed. I turned all colors, but she said, I won't forget her words. She said that I painted with my words. It's funny because I felt good about that, but I never thought anything of it, like to pursue it or do it more. And I think in college I had to do so much analytical writing and just technical papers and that sort of thing that I had no room left for creative writing at all. And it's not something I ever considered an actual path for a career or anything like that. I was a lot more pragmatic, you know. So this of course would change because of my meeting Vincent. I remember it was December 23rd, 2023, a couple days before Christmas. The feelings had been building, and I was definitely infatuated and absolutely so curious about what was going on with me, because it's something I had never experienced before. I got up that morning, and it's like a rainy morning, and I had these sweet feelings. I was overwhelmed with these beautiful, sweet feelings. I felt intoxicated, absolutely intoxicated. And it's, of course, given the circumstances at the time, it's not something that I could share with anyone or act upon. So I had to, all these things were bottling up inside of me, and I thought, and I couldn't even make sense of them, but it was so overwhelming. My emotions were so overwhelming, and I'm like, what do I do with this? Right? It's like they had to have somewhere to go, They couldn't just stay inside my body. And for whatever reason, I remember I made myself coffee and I sat down in my like my dining room, and I looked outside and it was raining, and I felt this impulse to write. I didn't journal. I didn't do any of that. I said, I'm gonna grab a paper and some paper and pen, and I'm gonna start writing. And you know, what came out was a poem. These feelings were so new for me that I felt like I lacked the words to describe what was going on. But I guess they were so beautiful that what came out was this poem that I'm going to share with you. It is a little long, so it's, you know, bear with me. It'll take a few minutes for me to read it, but it is my first poem, and it is called The Other 23. That 1 hour has become the purpose of my days. Or is it 10 minutes? A brief glance, a dance, the rare, soft, glorious hey. Ah, the parallel play. I want to run. I want to stay. The thrill of our bodies occupying the same space for such a brief time comes at a price. There are the other 23. I ride my high the rest of the night, sustained by that fleeting hour. Have dinner, take a walk, pretend that I am not preoccupied by thoughts of you. And then comes sweet sleep, a respite, 7 hours less, yes. I wake too early, oh no, 12 more to go. My heart races, my body trembles. I distract myself with mundane tasks. I go here, there, and forget why. It's no use. My thoughts are drawn back to you with renewed fervor. I recall the features of your face, reminiscent of a Roman sculpture, a Greek god, a mathematical masterpiece, a pensive, stoic facade. Could he be made of stone? Your eyes betray you, you know. An intensity unrivaled that pierced through me for an instant. One night, I froze, and then I burned. What just happened? Since then, I've been wishing the memory away while consumed by the probability of it happening again. Just one more time, please, I pray. I groan and ache. Wait, I know what will take this pain away. I revisit the place that holds the echo of you, of us. My racing heart put to use. This is fuel. This is good. Sweat drips down the center of my back. A release. I cleanse myself of you, or so I think. I dissect every interaction and then appeal to reason, intellectualize, examine, ruminate on my past, the traumas, the defense mechanisms, the patterns. A transient illusion, that's all this is. How could I be so foolish? I feel grounded. I'm okay, I say. A sigh of relief. And then the relentless emptiness reclaims its place. With eyes closed, I drift to that secret, sacred space where only we exist. I stare into the vast sky. There, I find your eyes, and allow myself a moment to revel in their sweet restraint, and even try to delight in the agony of your absence. I glance at the clock, that mighty, cruel arbiter of my existence. Just 5 hours to go. And then, you don't show. A shell of a person pacing about an empty room full of faceless humanoid figures going through the motions. I listen intently for a click at the door and watch for a glimpse of an approaching familiar silhouette. My hopes bashed by every passing minute. He's not coming. Oh well, it's for the best, I tell myself. All that I have left is to imagine, if I were free, how it could be the other 23. So that was my first poem. And when that came out, which actually wasn't difficult, I had such an amazing cathartic experience. I just started crying, but it was this emotional release that felt so good. it also helped me to, like, I guess, mentally process my emotions and understand something that was so strong that didn't make sense to me. I feel that that having written this poem opened a door, like a path for me. And when I did it, when I wrote this poem, I remember just being filled with goosebumps all throughout my body. It was like I tapped into another realm, into something else. I had never felt this kind of, it wasn't just emotion, it was connection to something else, like I opened a direct line to another dimension, to another place. It's like a connection to something divine is what I felt. And it was like this, there's something really special about this. And something also told me to date the poem, and then all the others, I dated every single poem that I wrote after that. You know, it took me probably almost a year to recognize that there was a synchronicity, which I didn't know that word. Well, I've been familiar with that word from college, but this is an actual synchronicity that I wrote the poem on December 23rd, 2023, and the title was The Other 23, which was completely unintentional on my part. And I felt like there was meaning to that. You know, when I finally realized it, I thought, that is so interesting. So that was December 23rd. Now on Christmas morning, I woke up and I remember that the sky was gray, and it was like Christmas mornings usually. You know, most people are not working. The neighborhood was quiet. It was around 9 in the morning. I just got up by myself. I went to the backyard and sat down, started looking around. I felt an incredible amount of yearning to be with him, with Vincent. And I just kind of whispered to God, like, with all my heart, I said, oh God, this is my Christmas wish. I want to see him. But you know, it was Christmas, right? I remember, because my senses were so heightened, there was this like sweet, syrupy smell in the air. I don't know if people were making breakfast, but to me, it reminded me of chicken and waffles, which I love. And it was just this sweetness that kind of mimicked the way that I felt inside, even though I felt this yearning that was very uncomfortable at the same time. But I thought, I'm gonna go to the gym. And it wasn't, I never went to the gym in the morning. I always went in the evening. And so at around 10 in the morning, I pulled up to the parking lot, and that parking lot was pretty much desolate. It was just like, I went inside the gym, and there was a couple there working out and one of the trainers. And 5 minutes after I arrived at that gym, I saw Vincent pull up to the parking lot, and he parked right in front of my car. And I thought, I had this surreal moment, because it's Christmas Day. What were the odds? I don't know this man at all. You know, what are the chances that at that time, that I never went at that time, on Christmas morning, that he would show up? And I thought, oh my God, God heard me. It's a Christmas miracle. I was in such disbelief, and it was such a beautiful moment for me. I just, he went in and he started doing his exercises and whatnot. And I was talking to the trainer, and I don't know, I noticed that I felt this like sadness coming from Vincent. And he's kind of he's not one to, wear his emotions on his sleeve. So he always kind of looked the same, right? But I don't know, I felt this like sadness coming from him. And I felt, again, this is just my experience, there was some sort of mutual support being exchanged between us. Like a silent emotional support was going on. I don't know. I mean, it was probably just my perception, but then again, on Christmas morning, people usually spend time with their family or significant others, and there we were, right? I feel like that morning, that moment was fated. That maybe he did need the support, and maybe my prayer was answered. I think this was the first time that I started to feel what it's like to feel someone else's feelings. It's more than empathy. It's not just like empathizing for someone who's going through something difficult. This was feeling his feelings, and it's very hard to describe this in a way that makes sense, but I feel like I tapped into his feelings. Like his feelings became my feelings. And that's something that would happen a lot after that. We did not exchange any words that day. And I don't recall us glancing at each other very much. I just felt this warm mutual support, this unspoken, I'm here for you, you're here for me kind of thing. And I gotta tell you, that day I started believing in the power of prayer, and in general in the power of the word, of the spoken word. And I would have, after this, a lot of confirmation that words really do carry a lot of power. But I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you'll join me again next week. Take care, my friend.